Hello everyone and welcome to another raid video. My name is RubyXE and today it is time to tell the story of the newcomers in Raid Shadow Legends, the newest faction which came in update 6.2 a few days ago. But before I get into it, if you are enjoying the content, please don't forget to click that subscribe button. Your support means absolutely everything. You guys are legends, and with that being said, let's get in to the story. Far on the southern shores of the Dawnlands, there lies a vast rainforest that even the Shadowkin themselves do not tread unbidden, the ancient and eerie Mistwood. As old as Teleria itself, its groves had been nurtured by the Fae and Elves in the days now lost beyond the veil of myth. It is a land of magic unbound, secrets long forgotten, and perils beyond counting. But wild as it is, Mistwood serves as the seat of power to an old and proud nation. For eons, the elves who had chosen to abandon Aravia lived here side by side with the Fae. And though most mortals who dare to treat with the fickle spirits of nature would invite grave danger indeed, the elves of old had attuned themselves to the lifelines of the forest and the energy that connects every living being therein. This rhythm flows from the heart tree, the nexus of ancient power in Mistwood, and gives them great empathy and the ability to understand the desires of beasts and fae alike. Thus, the SYLVAN were born, representatives of every elvish settlement, and every fae court stood united to guide their people through perilous times. And it is known that every nation needs an army as well as rulers. While the SYLVAN court governed, the Watchers kept vigil, yet the Dark Lord is cunning, and the stroke that had pierced the living heart of Mistwood came from within. Few remember that Siroth had once entered Mistwood in the days when both he and Lumaya still walked among mortals. He had planted a single seed that would in time twist the very essence of the forest. When awakened by a demon spawn spy, this rot infected the heart tree and interrupted the harmony of the rhythm. Through it, the corruption spread to the hearts of the SYLVAN Watchers. Many turned on their comrades and a terrible war followed. Here, Siroth sought to achieve what he failed to do in fair Aravia and bend the SYLVANs wholly to his will, yet hope still burned bright. Seton, one of the elder dryads, spirited the seed of the heart tree away before it could be destroyed. Protected by the loyal SYLVAN Watchers, she sacrificed herself on the slopes of the Nares Mountains, her life force giving birth to the new heart tree that would keep the flow of the rhythm pure and give the SYLVANs a fighting chance. Shadowkin, who had rebelled against their demonic masters, had often sought refuge in Mistwood and now rose in its defense. The Sky Iron Dominion had an outpost nearby, and the dwarves heeded the Watchers' plight. Together, they burned the tainted heart tree and returned an uneasy peace to Mistwood. Through the trace of Siroth's evil, yet lingers, and many fae remain lost to madness. Those dark days saw the beginning of an alliance that endures still. While the Shadowkin rose up to free their homeland, the SYLVAN Watchers and the dwarves were there to fight by their side. And with Yakai free at last, the Naresian Union stands strong to oppose any foe that would challenge them. So there we have it. That is the story and the lore of the newest faction in the game, the SYLVAN Watchers. Just to add something, if I butchered any names, I apologise. I don't really read too much into the lore, but I just thought these guys look really, really cool. Let's give them a bit of a story time. There are other content creators I do lore reads, by the way. This isn't me trying to, copy them or anything. It's just something I wanted to do, and I just found the lore pretty interesting. But with the story now read of how these SYLVAN watching elven tree-like beings came to fruition, let's greet them together and let's see how good they really do look. So let's start with the rare. Kate. She looks like some, I don't know, Robin Hood looking character. Tell you what, you wouldn't really want to mess with her in a fight. She's part of the fusion that's currently going on for Morrigan. I'm not doing that, by the way. But yeah, you get her through lots of events. So, A1. Attacks one enemy, it has a 15% chance of placing a block plus debuff for 2 turns. Pretty okay, I guess. Attacks all enemies, has a 30% chance of increasing the cooldown of a random skill on each target by 2 turns. That's pretty interesting. I know against the Magma Dragon, I think it is, who can have his skills extended. Countdowns extended. This could be quite useful for that. And then passive places a perfect veil buff on this champion for 1 turn whenever they kill an enemy. Now, let's get on to, is it Nia or White Dryad Nia? Just before I get into them, my thoughts on these, the visuals, they are so cool, aren't they? Like, they look so neat. Anyway, A1 attacks all enemies, has a 30% chance of placing a decreased speed buff for debuff for 2 turns. This is really good, especially against the Iron Twins boss. And also, is it Scarab? I think, can you place decrease? I think you can. I'm almost certain you can. Removes all debuffs from a target ally, then heals them by 40% of their max HP. If the target of this skill in this champion decreases the cooldown of all the target. Sorry, if the target of this skill is not this champion, decreases the cooldown of all the target skills by 2 turns. Oh right, okay, I get it now. So she's doing it. Someone else also does that. That's pretty interesting, I guess. And then places an ally protection and a strengthen on all allies. Very good for survivability. And the passive, whenever this champion is healed, heal all allies except this champion with 20% of that healed. That's also quite useful for keeping your team alive. Ruella, I don't know why I'm going down these backwards, but there we go. Wow. Just so you know, this is the first time me actually seeing these. I've not actually looked through these champions myself, so my thoughts that I'm giving to you are my initial thoughts. She looks incredible. Sorry. Right. It attacks one enemy 3 times. Each critical hit has an 80% chance of stealing 5% of the target's turn meter. Quite good for turn meter control. Similar to like an Armager. In fact, actually, that is very similar to an Armager, right? Apart from the Armager decreases that she steals. Attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing a decreased defense, weaken, and decrease speed. So pretty much slows down the enemies, and not only that, makes them a lot easier to take down. Very useful for things like Hydra, wave content, and so on. Fills the turn meter of all allies by 20% and places a 30% increased crit rate buff on all allies for 2 turns. Very decent, I guess, for champions that could do with a bit of an extra crit rate boost, and plus you don't need to build them up to 100% if you know this can be placed. Obviously you need to book this to be really effective, otherwise you're waiting quite a while. And also has a aura of accuracy. So the next one, Ornn. This guy, again, I'm going to say this is going to be repetitive. Looks so cool. Just can't get over how good the art team are at Plarium for Raid Shadow Legends. So good. A1. Attacks one enemy twice. Each hit has a 50% chance of placing a 5% poison debuff for 2 turns. Pretty good for poisons. For Clan Boss, the Dragon, and others. Attacks one enemy or an Ice Golem, because I'm pretty sure it bypasses that whole... I can't remember the name of the skill, but the one where he smacks you all and freezes and stuff. I'm pretty sure that, yeah, avoids it. Each hit has a 75% chance of instantly activating 5% debuff, poison debuff from the target. Pretty decent, actually, to be honest. It books to 100% as well, so you can do a bit of extra damage with that. It's not as good as Dark Hail, but we're all going to be waiting a while for that one. I know some people already have Dark Hail. I won't be having Dark Hail for a while. It attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of placing 5% poison debuffs and a poison sensitivity debuff for 2 turns. Heals this champion by 1% of their max HP for each poison debuff placed by this skill. So it's like a 2% heal. The heal seems pretty insignificant, I guess. But I mean, the poison sensitivity, is super helpful, especially for doing extra damage to the clan boss. In fact, I've just pulled this morning Frozen Banshee, and I'm going to try her out in the team because she is very good with poisons, and I can't wait. Can't wait. My voice just doesn't like me today. Whenever a poison debuff is activated on an enemy, it increases the HP and defense of this champion by 5%. Stacks up to 25%, resets each round. Very good for longevity, survivability, and given he's a HP champion, quite easy to build to live. Next one, Mist Rider Daithy, or Daithy. First one. A1 attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of removing one random buff from the target. Also has a 10% chance of granting this champion an extra turn. Very good against very extra turns. I mean, I guess it's 10% chance. It's quite low, but I mean, it's not 0. So, the one random removing a random buff could be quite helpful for some cases. A2 attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance, box to 100, of placing a 60% decrease defense debuff for 2 turns. Excuse me. Whew, my voice. Grants an extra turn of a 60% decrease debuff. Decreased defense debuff is placed on all enemies by this skill. Very good for wave content. Yeah, just decreased defense basically means the enemy is taking more damage. Places a 50% increased attack and increased accuracy buff on this champion for 3 turns, then grants an extra turn. Very good for placing his debuffs and also doing that extra little bit of damage. Next one, is it Duiden? I'm going to call him Duiden. Duiden the Runic. He looks, wow. You know what he reminds me of? It reminds me of, you know that game, Skylanders? I used to play it a long time ago. It reminds me of, I can't remember the name of the Skylander, but the one with the big, like, fiery arms. I think you get him straight away, but yeah, it reminds me of him. I'll have to look up the name. Right. Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance, it's a HP champion as well, by the way. 50% chance of removing one random debuff from all allies. Very useful, especially for Hydra. Yeah, for Hydra, because obviously the provoke and the fear and stuff. Attacks all enemies, places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns, equals 50% of the max HP. Increases the duration of all buffs on all allies by 1 turn. Very useful, especially if you've got like continuous heal and you want to keep your champions healing. And also places the shield, which means if he's got a lot of HP, that's quite a juicy shield. Places a ton. Oh yeah, this is the new one. It's similar to provoke. I need to look into it. I haven't actually, but apparently it's like sort of like provoke, but not like provoke. I think what it is it's provoke, but basically in provoke, the enemy uses their A1, but I think for taunt they all use their any skill that's available. I can't remember. Don't quote me on that. I need to look into it. Also places a strengthen and a counter attack on this champion for 2 turns. Very good for things like Fire Knight. Does he attack? Oh no, he only attacks once, so maybe not so good to Fire Knight. But if you get him in Destroy gear, he could be doing the work for you in Scarab, potentially. Very good, and also strengthen is pretty decent as well for, of course, the survivability. I'm going to try and rush through these a little bit more because I don't want to keep you guys waiting. But Cormac, the High Peak, also a decent looking champion. It looks really good visually. Attacks one enemy, has a 40% chance of placing a decreased speed debuff. Very good for, as I mentioned before, Iron Twins. Attacks one enemy before attacking, has a 75% chance of placing a decreased debuff on the target for 2 turns. Very good. Again, more damage, just damage. Of course, you're going to need accuracy to land the decreased defense in the first place. Places a 50% increased accuracy buff and a 30% crit rate buff on this champion for 3 turns, and grants an extra turn. If you've got this on 2-to-1 ratio with your enemy and also fully booked, he's going to be placing that pretty much all the time. Very good skill. He looks like someone who will do a very decent amount of damage. Hopefully I can get him at some point and try him out. Onto the legendaries. Elil, wow. Tell you what, you want him in your corner when you're having a fight with someone. A1 attacks one enemy, steals all buffs from the target the first time this champion hits them with this skill. This effect cannot be resisted, so you do not need accuracy for this. Each subsequent time this attack hits an enemy afterwards, no buffs will be stolen. Instead, the damage will be increased by 10% for each buff on the target. So it's very similar to Seer, where she does more damage the more buffs that your champions have got. Obviously, she removes the buffs afterwards, but you know, looks like it could do quite a very good amount of damage, especially if they're completely packed with a lot of buffs. Attacks one enemy, will ignore strength, stone skin, very good, increased defense and ally protection buffs. If this attack kills an enemy, fully heals this champion and places a stone skin buff on them for 1 turn. Wow. It's very interesting. That's very good. Bringing the stone skin element into the fold. It'd be cool if a few more champions had the functionality of using stone skin. For those who don't know, Stone Skin is one of those buffs you get from the I think it's literally called the Stone Skin set. You get it for Hydra. Anyway, Chill Wind of Autumn, this is a long one, attacks all enemies. Before attacking, removes any increased defense buffs on each target and replaces them with a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Also removes any strengthen, replaces them with a weaken, places a blockbuster debuff for 1 turn on enemies not under increased defense or strengthen buffs before attacking. That's massive. Is it me or is that really big? That seems really big on a 3-turn cooldown as well. That must hit really hard. Oh, wow. Increases champions' HP by 2,000 and defense by 100 for every 1,000 attack they have. Pretty decent little bit of extra boost of stats. And every time they receive a buff, their turn meter goes up. That actually looks like a very top champion. And it's Void as well. Ruark. Jesus. These look so cool. You can't fault the art team. The art team just... it seems like sometimes it's the art team that's keeping this game going. A1. Attacks 1 enemy, transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target. Heals this champion by 5% of their max HP for each debuff transferred. Good bit of healing. Attacks all enemies as an 80% chance of placing a decreased attack debuff for 2 turns. Also steals any continuous heal buffs from each enemy. This effect cannot be resisted. Very good. Do not need accuracy. Places a taunt buff and a 60% increased defense and a strengthen buff on this champion for 2 turns. Very good for controlling the team, so they're attacking him instead. And passive, whenever an ally loses 10% or more of their max HP from a single hit, places a shield buff on that ally for 2 turns equal to 10% of their max HP. Seems pretty decent for Hydra. Wait. Oh wow, so if you book this, it's forever. It doesn't even have a cooldown. That's massive, that's huge. Especially if it's like, yeah, that's going to be huge for Hydra. Right? That's got to be big for Hydra, right? Or am I thinking of this wrong? I don't know, this looks like it could be a very good champion. Penultimate champion, King Galkbar. Very good looking champion. Again, as I said, like, it's just, wow. Anyway. A1 attacks 1 enemy, places a shield buff for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP. The value of the shield is equal to 15% of the ally's max HP. Damage based on attack. Why did I read that? Place a shield for 2 turns on the ally with the lowest HP. Value of the shield, this ally's max HP. Of the ally's max HP. So if you're doing that on a HP based champion, that's quite a big shield that could be going on. Attacks all enemies has an 8% chance of removing all buffs. Places a poison debuff for 2 turns on each enemy for every buff removed. So it could be quite a lot of poisons. That also has an 8% chance of placing a block buff debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. Very good for champions who just have that annoying unkillable like Paragon. And finally, removes all debuffs from all allies, places a continuous heal buff on 1 turn for each ally for every debuff removed from them. Also places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns. The value of the shield is equal to 25% of the champion's max HP. It just seems like this guy is a healer and a shielder and someone who protects your team from almost